Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bible Nerds Podcast. And we are in episode 3 of the book of Leviticus. Now, I know if you have not yet caught up with the others, please backtrack because this is amazing. We love Leviticus. I know that's a strange thing to say, but we do. We have discovered its meaning and we want you to share in this discovery. So today we're going to talk about, just say hi, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah. So really want to dive in quickly. We're talking about the 5 sacrifices, which are called offerings in Leviticus 1 to 7. Mm-hmm. And Tish, why don't you go ahead and just share with us what these 5 offerings are?
Yep. Okay, so the first offering is called the burnt offering, or to not be too confusing because all the other offerings are also called burnt offerings, we can refer to this as the ascension offering.
Right. Ascension.
Yep, because in Hebrew, it is the word olah, the olah offering, which means to go up or to ascend. And what marks this specific offering is the smoke that comes out when the offering gets burnt.
Right.
Right? When you burn something, there's a smoke that goes up, and it's meant to represent how this offering allows the animal to transform into a state where they can enter into the presence of God that they couldn't have done otherwise.
And the fact that the whole animal is burnt.
That's right. That's also what sets this offering apart from the rest, because in this offering, it requires the sacrifice of a whole animal, which is costly.
Very costly.
And wasteful.
Yeah. You know, in the U.S., there's some people who actually buy like half a cow for their whole family.
Okay.
Right? That can cost like a huge sum of money, like starting from like around $2,000 to even up to like $8,000, depending on the quality of the cow.
Wow.
Right. And, you know, that half a cow has like 40 ribeye steaks and 32 Denver steaks, and just like has so much meat that, you know, with the freezers from modern technology, they're able to feed the whole family for a whole year.
Right.
Right. And that's half a cow.
Right.
So imagine like what it would mean for this community, this ancient community, which did not have freezers, right? To burn an entire animal and to use not a single part of it for their use, like not even the skin or the fat, or just burn the whole animal.
Yeah.
And they do it every day, morning and evening.
Yes. It's a wild offering and a huge statement of the kind of lifestyle this community will live.
That's right. That they're meant to offer their whole total self when they're going to offer to God, when they're going to surrender to God. It should be the complete self.
Yes.
And it could be wasteful, costly, but that's a call.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right, let's hop to the second one.
Okay, the second one is called the grain offering, or we can call it the gift offering, because it can sometimes include vegetables and fruits.
Yes. So we're mentioning the name that you might find in most English translations. Mm-hmm. So if you look at NIV and NLT and ESV and NABRE, right? The first offering is called the burnt offering, or some scholars refer to it as the ascension offering. And I think in all these translations as well, the second one is called the grain offering, but it includes bread and vegetables. I mean, I guess bread is a form of grain, but definitely not vegetables.
Yeah, and fruits.
And fruits.
Yep.
So some scholars refer to it as the gift offering.
That's right. Right. And this offering may be familiar to us already because this is the offering that Cain gives in Genesis 4. Yeah. And it is an offering that is a way to give back to God. It's like saying thank you to God for giving me what I have, and so I give back a portion of it to you. So
beautiful.
That's the gift offering.
So sweet. So the third offering is
the peace offering, and some scholars would call it the fellowship
Yeah.
offering.
Yeah, I like how in the Nabre, the NABRE translation, it's called the communion offering.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. And yeah, and in Hebrew, the name is called Tzebak Shelamim,
Yeah.
as it takes its name from the same root word as shalom, which means peace.
Right.
And in this offering, they bring an animal and place their hands on it, and the presenter gets to keep a valuable meat from the animal and shares some of it with the priest, and then they throw a dinner party
Yeah.
with all the widows and orphans, part of their community,
Yeah.
and they celebrate.
So this offering is the only offering where the worshiper gets to partake of the meat from the sacrifice.
That's right. That's right. They
Right.
get to eat.
They get to eat.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. Like, you can imagine how when somebody would say, "Oh, I'm going to offer a peace offering later tonight,"
Yummy.
Save the date.
yeah, their friends are like, "Oh, can I come?"
That's right.
Right. So this is really cool because this. I mentioned a while ago that I like the NABRE translation as the communion offering, because
That's right.
this is the offering where everybody, the worshiper, the priest, and God is sharing the same meal.
Yeah.
Right? It's communion. Right?
Yeah, it's a picture of Eden,
It's a picture of Eden.
where all the people and God lives harmoniously, and they get to eat in the
Yes,
garden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, this also foreshadows the later on when we're going to be talking about the ritual purity laws.
Right.
Later on in Leviticus. One of the weirder things, right, that we find is that there's certain food that the Israelites
Yeah.
are not allowed to eat. Right. And when it comes to land animals, there's only 3 kinds that they're allowed to eat.
Yeah.
They're only allowed to eat lambs,
Yeah.
sheep,
Yeah.
right, goats,
Yeah.
and cows.
Yep.
Right. No other
Wow.
animal.
That's right.
And it's interesting how those 3 are also the only animals that are land animals that are allowed to be offered as sacrifices.
Wow.
In here in chapters 1 to 7, where we're
Yeah.
getting the instructions on how to
Yeah.
offer these animals.
Yeah.
And what that tells us is that you might be, why would God limit? There's so many wonderful things that you can eat,
Yeah. Yeah.
like bacon, like pork.
Like ramen.
Yeah, you can't have tonkotsu ramen if you're an Israelite.
Oh,
But
man.
I think what Leviticus is trying to tell us here is that what God eats is what humans can eat. It's like they're sharing the same table. It's almost as if every
So interesting.
table, right,
Yeah.
in an Israelite's household is an altar, right? Because they get to eat the same food that God gets to eat.
Wow.
It's really interesting, and that's why I'm already saying out of the 5, I think this is my favorite one.
Yeah.
The
It
peace
involves
offering.
eating.
It involves eating.
Of course. Okay, so our 4th offering is what we know as a sin offering.
Right.
But it can also be called the purification
Right.
offering. As in Hebrew, it is called the chatat offering, which means to purify from sin's effects.
It sounds like the Hebrew word for sin,
Yes.
but it's not.
But it's not.
Yeah, it has a different root word. That's what confused translators in the past.
That's right.
Yeah, but that's why some scholars prefer the more accurate term of purification offering. Right.
Yeah, and this is the offering that one gives when they sin unintentionally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. This is something we talked about last week, how the effects of sin, right, for the Israelite was not something that you could just hide.
Yeah, it's not
Right.
private.
It's not private. It's
That's
not
right.
a personal thing. It affects the community.
Yeah.
And it actually affects the holiness of the tabernacle. And so they would, because, people sin all the time. It's normal.
Yep.
Because of that, there has to be a way to make sure that the tabernacle remains holy, right? And so you have this purification offering,
Yeah.
which involves the blood, and
Yeah.
maybe we'll talk about that a little later.
Yes.
But the blood washes away, it covers over the effects of the sin of the community,
And purifies it.
purifies to create a clean
Clean
space.
space. Yep. And then The last one?
Not to be confused with the...
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, not to be confused with the last one, because the last one is the guilt offering. And I forget, do we have another name for
I
this?
think all translations use the word guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then in Hebrew, this is called the asham. And this offering is done to make restitution when someone misuses or abuses something that was of value to God
Right.
or to their neighbor.
Right. And we talked about this in the talk, how this is such a costly sacrifice.
Absolutely, because when you, for example, you cheat your neighbor of $1,000 and you want to offer guilt offering, you have to go back to the neighbor and give him back his 1,000 plus 20%.
So 1,000 plus, like what you took from him, plus a 20%.
20%, so it's 1,200. And then on the same day, Leviticus says you should go and offer a sacrifice of this same amount plus that you cheated, plus the 20%. So it's 240% more.
It's very expensive to sin in the Israelite community.
So just don't do it.
Like you do it once and you're like, and you have to go through the whole guilt offering. You're like, I don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
But the point really is just, you make amends not only with God and say, Lord, I'm sorry. But no, you've got to make amends with the people that you hurt.
Right.
This is one of the perfect examples of how the concept of justice in the Bible is restorative justice, not retributive justice. There are some examples of retributive justice, but in most cases, it's restorative justice.
Beautiful.
Where the goal is not to like take revenge on the other person, or to take revenge on the criminal, but rather to restore the victims from the effects of the criminal sin, of the sin of the person who hurt them.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Wow.
So that's our 5 burnt
those
offerings.
were the 5 offerings. They're done daily, regularly.
Yeah, regularly.
Yeah, and there's actually a certain order of how it's done when you read about it in Leviticus 8, if I'm not mistaken. No, sorry, Leviticus 9.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so in Leviticus 9, it's a narrative. So it takes us through how
they do it,
and his sons would do these 5 offerings every day. Right? So what he does is, let me just read it to you from chapter 9, verse 2. Take a young bull for a sin offering or a purification offering, and a ram for the burnt or ascension offering, both without defects, and present them to the Lord. Now, this part is really important, right? The kind of animal that you offer to God is not your second best, right? It has to be an unblemished animal.
That's right.
Right. When I first heard about this, I thought, well, what I thought that meant was the animal had to kind of like have a perfect ratio, or you know those like the Instagram filter where it gives you like a perfect ratio,
symmetrical.
Like can't have a little speck of imperfect. That's not what it means. It just means that the animal is not blind, is not maimed, right? It has its 4 legs intact, right? It doesn't have like liquid oozing out of its ears or anything like that.
Yeah.
Right. Basically, you don't want to give an animal that would be dead anyway in a couple of months.
Right.
Right. This has to be a healthy animal that is valuable, right, to you, because you can't just go to the grocery to buy an animal, right? This was the offering was something that you actually raised and took care of, and if it was not sacrificed, it would have been of economical value to you and your family.
Yes.
And so you could imagine how there would be some people who would say, like, it would be a waste to sacrifice one of the healthy ones from our flock. Might as well just choose like this one that's going to be left for dead anyway in a couple months. But no, you can't do that.
No.
You have to present them to the Lord, and they have to be blameless.
Beautiful.
Right? And so they have the burnt offering, they have the sin offering, right? And then they also need to take for the peace offering, flour moistened with olive oil for the grain. So notice the first thing that they do is they actually get the sin offering first, right? The purification offering, and we just assume that if there's anybody who commits like something worthy of the guilt offering, that's done at the same time.
Yes.
So you have the sin and then the guilt, and then you have the burnt offering after that, along with the peace offering. It's like they're pairs,
Oh.
right? So you have the sin and the guilt. You have the burnt and the fellowship.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
No.
And the burnt and the gift.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Or so many names. This is getting so
So
confusing.
many.
but the basically the sacrifices that purify and for the sin of the community.
Yes.
Then after that, it's the gift of the community.
Yeah.
This whole animal along with the grain
Yeah.
and the vegetables.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the symbol of full surrender to Yahweh.
Yeah.
Right? So on top of the sin, they put the burnt on top. And lastly, they have the fellowship offering, which is the
peace
one, or the peace offering,
The
where
dinner party.
the dinner party, where part of it is consumed by the worshiper, and then
Yeah.
Brought
part of it-
home.
part of it is put on top of the burnt offering. So it's like this pile of animals
Yeah.
that's just burning
Oh my
Yeah.
on the
gosh.
altar,
Yeah.
and the smoke, you can see it
Whoa.
like from outside the camp.
Yeah.
That's the picture.
Yeah.
Day and night, every
Yeah.
day, the
Yeah.
Israelite community offering this in worship to Yahweh, right?
It's like a bonfire.
It's like a bonfire. Yeah, that's right. I wasn't able to talk about how they sacrifice the animal, and there's a whole process to that as well.
Yeah.
Where they have this hand leaning right,
Mm-hmm.
where the worshiper is going to put their hand on their
the
offering.
animal.
Like,
Yeah.
let's say they're offering a guilt offering. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have a ram,
Yeah.
right? They put the hand, and they're not just gonna put their hand like tap. It's like, okay, ready to go. but they have to put weight, like they heavily press down with two hands onto the
Animal.
animal,
Yeah.
right? And some people think that what's happening is the worshiper is transferring their sin to the animal, but that's not how it works. I mean, we'll read about that later during the Day of Atonement,
Yeah.
Okay.
Leviticus 16,
Right.
where something like that does happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But that animal is not killed,
Yeah.
right? Because you cannot offer an animal that has sin, right? Right? You have to offer a blameless one. So
Yeah.
the reason why you're putting your hands down to you're marking the animal, you're dedicating it for the purpose of being an atonement for you and Yahweh, right? That's the picture,
Yeah.
right? And I was just thinking about this. Imagine you have your ram that you raised,
Yes.
and you're putting your hand down on it. saying,
Yeah.
I'm offering this. This is such a invested and
Personal.
Yeah.
personal,
Yeah.
experiential
Yeah.
way of offering to God.
That's
Yeah.
Because when you go to the parish, right, and it's time for the offering,
true. Yeah.
right, where they pass the basket, because
Yeah.
we don't anymore do animal sacrifices,
Yeah.
and we give
Yeah.
our monetary
Yep.
goods that we've worked hard for. I mean, it kind of means the same thing, but you can just imagine how detached this is, where you just you're not even looking. You kind of like insert the peso, the folded bill
Yeah.
into the basket,
Yeah.
right, and
Or
it's done.
In Gcash.
Or
you just scan it.
or
just,
if you go to the feast,
you don't even see the money. You
you
just
don't even see the money, right? If you go to the feast, some feasts have Gcash
Yeah.
as a
Yep.
as a method for love offering.
That's
Yep.
right.
And it's just so easy and
Yeah.
convenient. Here
Yeah.
you have like a bleating animal where you're pressing down on with your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that he's gonna die in a couple
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
in a few moments from now.
Yeah.
And get this is the most interesting thing. You have to kill the animal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always thought that the
The
priest,
priest would do it.
the priest would
No.
do the killing, but actually the priest hands you the knife because the priest has to do something else. He's carrying the basin,
Yeah.
right? Because the priest is going to collect the blood,
Wow.
Right.
right? But you have to be the one to kill the ram.
Oh gosh.
So this is so something that you have to be fully invested in.
Yep.
Yeah.
You cannot be.
Yeah.
Your full attention is
Yeah.
being given here, and you kill the animal. The blood flows into the basin. In the text, it doesn't. It kind of just briefly. It doesn't even describe the slaughter rite in more than just a sentence, right? But then, as you read, as it describes each offering, it's all about the blood. You have
Yes.
verses and verses about how
Always
the
about the blood.
The
They
priest is
collect
going to
it.
collect the blood and he's going to sprinkle it on
That's
the
right.
horns of the altar, all over the base
That's
of the
right.
altar. And to our listeners right now, I hope you're not cringing or feeling a
Yeah,
little.
I was thinking, I feel like that's why sometimes it's so easy to just scan through Leviticus because you can just see blood everywhere. I'm like, I don't want to
Hopefully-
imagine that.
Hopefully you don't feel queasy. But we do have to mention this, that for Israelites in the ancient Near East, not just for Israelites, but for anybody in the ancient Near East, blood represented life.
That's right.
That's right.
We mentioned this last week, but blood is life to them. It's liquid life,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason why they need that is because they believed that if they would cover death,
Yes.
right? If they would cover the effects of sin,
Yes.
which is death, with blood,
Life.
with life, it would cover over it and it
Yeah.
would purify.
Yeah.
Right? It comes from this deep belief that life is more powerful than death,
That's right.
right? And that's how all the sacrifices in Leviticus work.
Amazing.
Where the life of the animal is used to cover over the effects of sin, right? It doesn't make sense to us, right? But this was something that was very real to them.
Yes.
Where imagine just being in the middle of this whole scene, right? Walking through the gate, right?
Yeah.
The gate of the tabernacle, and then presenting your animal.
Yeah.
And then the priest checks if it's all okay.
Yeah.
Get the approval, put the hand,
Yeah.
lay it down on the animal, and then you have to kill it, right? And the priest is quickly trying to collect all the blood, and then he's like sprinkling it on the. This is just like this visceral picture of life finding a way to overcome the effects of death
Yeah.
and sin in the community.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
And it's costly.
It is.
Like something I think that we've mentioned over and over in all these 5 sacrifices.
It is.
Quite costly.
An offering should be costly.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so you might be listening to this and you might be wondering, what's with all the ritual?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think if you're a modern person in the
Yeah.
21st century,
Right.
you might say that, what we're really after here is a relationship with God.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And you hear that from some people who say, rituals won't save you, only Jesus will save you. And
Which is true.
which is true.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
we've been trying to point out how these rituals are part of the way that they relate to Yahweh.
Yes.
How they have a relationship with God through these rituals.
That's right.
And I mean that might be weird for you, but think about in any relationship. There
Yeah.
actually are a lot of rituals that we have.
Absolutely.
Like maybe
Yeah. I mean, if I go to my wife later on tonight and I say, sweetheart, let's not just have our weekly dates anymore. Those are just rituals, empty rituals. If I say that, I think my physical existence will be in danger. So I think relationships need rituals.
Right.
Valentine's,
They're a
anniversaries,
huge important part of it.
a morning kisses, I mean, before you start the day. I mean, all of those things are rituals.
Yeah, and not just in like romantic relationships, but like for example, in families.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like there's some families who go out on Sunday to have lunch together.
Yes.
Yep.
With the cousins and with the titas and titos
Beautiful.
every Sunday, and it's sad when it doesn't happen, or if somebody can't make it to the
Yeah.
to the Sunday lunch.
Yeah. Even when you consider human life itself, I always teach people to have a morning ritual.
Right.
And my morning ritual just empowers me profoundly. I'm so productive when I have a great morning. So, for example, it means breathing exercise. It means biking. It means reading a book under a tree. It means all those things. If I don't do it, I'm kind of like, where am I? What's happening?
You're a bit more frazzled throughout the rest of
Yes.
the day. And like if you isolate those things, like riding a bike and breathing, and
Yeah.
like what does that even
Right.
do with, right? But I'm sure like if there was more time, you'd explain like what each one means to you.
Yes,
And
that's right.
right, it's very important in your relationship with yourself, right?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so it's clear that human life and human communities are built around rituals.
That's right.
And in the case of these burnt offerings, these offerings to God, they are rituals that help the Israelites experience God.
Yes.
And if you really think about it, what they're doing here is they're building their life around daily surrender and
Right.
Beautiful.
and having the whole community offering a gift, right,
Yeah.
to Yahweh.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
While it is true that if you focus on just the rituals instead of the person on the other side of the relationship,
Yeah.
you can miss the point,
Of course.
Right.
right? And that happens all the time.
Always.
In fact, you read Malachi chapter 1 verse 7, where they talk about how the Israelites, where he accuses the Israelites of offering,
Yeah.
not good offerings.
That's right.
Where
Yes.
the animals are blind
Yeah.
and maimed, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
like deliberately not the thing that
Yep.
not the thing that Yahweh approves of.
That's right.
Right, and you read about how they're paying the priests to look the
Yes.
other way and use these
Yeah.
unclean offerings
Yeah.
to Yahweh, right?
Yeah.
Where they're missing the point. It's not about just
Absolutely.
doing the ritual,
Yep.
No.
right? It's for their relationship
Yeah.
with God, right? Or,
That's right.
or you read about. I think we mentioned this in the talk where in the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus is talking about the guilt offerings
Yes.
and how some people are actually just going to the temple
Yeah.
to only give to God the
Yeah.
guilt offering,
Yeah.
Yeah.
part one, and missing out on the second part where they actually go to the person
Yeah.
and make amends with that person.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because might as well, I mean, just like do the thing to God. At least
Yeah.
that's checked off.
Yeah.
I don't want to bother myself with trying to go to the person that I heard. Right? And she says, no, you can't do that. That
Yeah.
misses out the whole point.
That's right.
Right? So, I mean, there's this balance that we need to achieve.
Yeah.
Rituals are a huge part of a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But unless we see them through the lens of how this is all for relating and experiencing and living a life dwelling with Yahweh, right?
In relation with Yahweh.
In relation with Yahweh, then you miss the point. So there, I mean, we get to read about this, the wisdom of Leviticus,
Yes.
and maybe we can think about our own lives. Is our life built around Yahweh and around God, around daily surrender? You mentioned in your morning routine you have breathing, and
Yeah.
I guess you have prayer also. and-
Yes. Meditation. So and that's what we encourage. We've been always encouraging people to have a daily ritual where they connect with God, whether that's be reading the Bible or visiting the Blessed Sacrament,
Yeah.
going to Mass, praying the rosary,
Right.
praying with your spouse, praying with your children,
Going to confession.
going to confession. All of these are rituals, beautiful rituals.
They allow you to experience God in a tangible
Yes.
personal way. Or not.
Or not.
It depends. It really depends on what you're doing it for.
Your posture,
Right.
your attitude.
And I think what Leviticus and Jesus is inviting us to is to see life as something that's extraordinary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just, not just ordinary random things that we just do because we have to,
That's right.
but to build our life around this idea that the whole world is sacred.
Yeah.
That somehow God has made a way for us to relate
Yes.
to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's and ultimately Jesus is that one who allows us to know who the Father is
Yes.
and relate with him
Yes.
through prayer, through his Spirit, through his church. And super cool.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And there you have it. This is the end of our episode number 3 for Leviticus. And we look forward to be with you for the next episode. Please do subscribe so that more people will get to know this podcast, Bible Nerds, and that through this, Bible Nerds, people will get to know more about the Word,
Yeah.
about Jesus, and hopefully fall in love with Him. There you go. See you in our next episode.